Pakistan is freeing the Indian pilot it captured during this week's Kashmir conflict. Will this goodwill gesture be enough to defuse tensions between the nuclear-armed neighbors? And US President Donald Trump said he will veto a resolution disapproving his national emergency declaration if it gets passed in the Senate. What would the veto mean for President Trump's southern border wall? Welcome to The Point, an opinion show coming to you from Beijing. I'm Li Xin. Pakistan is releasing a captured Indian pilot on Friday as a goodwill gesture and a first step to open negotiations with India. The nuclear-armed neighbors have been locked in an escalating conflict this week over the disputed region of Kashmir. Indian fighter jets crossed the line of control on Tuesday and carried out what New Delhi called non-military and preemptive airstrikes on a terror camp it says is linked to a recent terrorist attack. Pakistan claimed it shot down 2 Indian jets which entered Pakistani airspace on Wednesday and that 4 Pakistani civilians have been killed by Indian fire. Although ties between the two have been historically fraught, this week's escalation raises fresh concerns about security in the region. Pakistan's leader said he's ready to sit down and talk peace to prevent further escalation, but India's leader says Pakistan needs to get its terrorism under control before high-level talks are possible. What's at stake for the two countries, and how can the two leaders steer their nations back to a peaceful path? Joining me for the discussion are Shijing Duo, Senior Fellow at the Pango Institution, Professor Madhav Nalapat, Director of Geopolitics and International Relations and UNESCO Chair at Manipal University in New Delhi, India, and Muhammad Zamir Asadi, Diplomatic Correspondent from Independent News Pakistan in Islamabad. Gentlemen, welcome to The Point. Shijing Duo, let me go to you first. At this moment, we are still awaiting the final confirmation that the Pakistani side has released the Indian pilot that is captured, but it has been promised that Pakistan will do that, and some people on the Indian side of the border were already celebrating. So what does this gesture say, and what would it mean for the situation if the pilot is really handed over?
I would say this is a move to de-escalate the tension between the two countries across the border. As you said, this is a goodwill gesture. It is a strong signal from the Pakistani side that they don't want a war with India over the incident about a week ago. And secondly, I think it provides a good cause, a good excuse, I would say, for the Modi government to call it an end, at least temporarily, for this current round of tension. With that, being said, I would say, if whether there will be a negotiation, to solve their problem through negotiation, like a meeting between the two prime ministers, is still unlikely.
Okay, Professor Nalapat, the Pakistani side has said this is a peace gesture to avoid the escalation of the tension. How does the Indian government look at the issue? Will such a gesture be enough, or be a good enough first step to start easing tensions?
The problem facing India is that there are a large number of individuals who are openly being trained in Pakistan, who are being funded in Pakistan. I mean, their fund collection takes place very openly for organizations such as Lashkar-e-Toiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed, which are banned organizations internationally. Now, in this situation, when the terror attacks get launched in India and they have such open support in Pakistan, India has a serious problem. It's not, if there are disputes between democracies, between any two countries, they need to be settled peacefully. And one should not in any way assist any group to try and settle the issue through violence, through guns, and through terror. So this is the problem facing India regarding policy in Pakistan.
How do you look at the gesture of the release of the pilot? The pilot
is a welcome gesture. Well, I'd like to say it is I'm glad that the Pakistan side has done that. I'm glad Imran Khan has done that. But I would only like to say that, frankly, the issue is much beyond the release of a pilot. I don't believe that this by itself is going to in any way lower the tension.
All right. Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Han, said this on Wednesday. Let's listen together first.
Both countries can't afford miscalculation because of the weapons we have. If the situation further escalates from here, this will be dangerous. We should think on this.
Okay, basically he also said that Pakistan is ready for dialogue to counter terrorism. Let's sit on the table to find out solution to the problem. So, Mr. Asadi, what is the consideration by the Pakistani side to release the Indian pilot shortly after he has been captured? What kind of message do you think this is sending, and what is the kind of reaction that Pakistan is expecting from the Indian side?
Yeah, thank you very much for taking me for the discussion on this very important topic. And frankly speaking, let me be very clear that from the day one after the Pulwama attack, you know, Pakistan was very clear that Pakistan was not involved directly or indirectly in this tragic incident which happened there in Indian occupied Kashmir. And Pakistan always believed on peace, and Pakistani Prime Minister, the new Prime Minister Imran Khan, as long as he took the oath, he offered you know, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi that if you will take one step, we will take two steps, and we will move forward for the peace. So, but after the Pulwama attack, you know that the situation of, changed very quickly in the region, and you know, there are many elements who are trying to get the benefit from this, situation. So now, when Pakistan is going to release the, captured pilot, we, as a Pakistani journalist and the Pakistani citizen, we really appreciate that step being taken by our Prime Minister to announce that the captured pilot is going to be released as a goodwill gesture, and it is a message of the peace. So it must not be translated otherwise. You know, there are some people, there are some people who are translating it like, the Pakistan was forced to release this pilot. But, Pakistan believes on peace, Pakistan believes on prosperity, Pakistan believes on connectivity, Pakistan believes on development. At this stage, when Pakistan, is focusing on development of its economy, then I think there is no way that Pakistan will, escalate the situation, which is already, hurt the peace, in the region.
Okay. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday said that Pakistan should first create the environment for New Delhi to consider talks at the highest level, and he also wants to see that the Pakistani government taking immediate, credible, verifiable action against terrorists and their infrastructure. Professor Nalapat, what kind of concrete measures is India expecting Pakistan to take at this moment?
Let me remind you that this is not the first such incident. Recently, for example, you had the attack in Pathankot in a military base. You had the attack on Uri, and now you have this attack in Pulwama. Before that, there have been, you have Bombay, in which you had a terror attack in two hotels in Mumbai. A large number of people were killed. You had various other terror attacks. You had the hijacking of an Indian Airlines aircraft from Kathmandu, and there again the Indian side released several terrorists, including Masood Azhar, who has got sanctuary in Pakistan and who is behind this attack. The fact is that India has repeatedly gone an extra mile in hoping that this one more concession will enable Pakistan to decide that no, terror is not a good path, economic development is a good path. In the case of Bangladesh, for example, the relations between India and Bangladesh have become very, very warm. Trade relations have improved, commercial relations have improved, and there is free transport of goods and services and people across both boundaries. So we were hoping that will happen with Pakistan, but the soft approach has not worked. So many people are coming around to the view that the soft approach has not worked all these years. Well, then the hard approach is the only way forward.
Okay, Mr. Asadi, do you, or does the Pakistani side agree that a hard approach or harder approach have to be taken? What has Pakistan done in terms of anti-terrorism? Is there anything that can be done more to assuage the concerns of the Indian side?
Yeah, thank you very much. This has become a rhetoric in India that whenever any of the incident happens there in Indian occupied Kashmir, it has become their rhetoric that they allege Pakistan, that the organizations they are operating there in Pakistan and they are directly or indirectly involved in such kind of tragic incidents in Indian occupied Kashmir. So I just have a question that India has deployed thousands of its military men there in Indian occupied Kashmir, and they claim that they have made this line of control very secure. Then if they are investing millions of dollars annually just to make the secure that line of control between Pakistan and India, then how it is possible that the militants from Pakistan they are entering to Indian occupied Kashmir? I think then if this is their claim that the terrorists they are financed or they are operated from Pakistan towards Indian occupied Kashmir, then it is really a failure of the Indian intelligence, and it is really a failure of the Indian military.
Okay.
Whenever any incident happens, they claim they allege Pakistan that such things are going on.
I have to ask Professor Nalapat to address this question that you already raised, Mr. Asadi. So, Professor Nalapat, how do you address that it's a sheer failure of the Indian side, having spent millions of dollars on securing the border, and you're not able to achieve your goals, and always put the blame on the Pakistani side?
Well, I'd like to say that we have seen terror activities in Europe, in America, in India and various other countries. Very few countries have been immune from terror attacks. So yes, it's true that intelligence systems sometimes fail. It's true that sometimes interdiction fails. Regarding, for example, Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, a lot of evidence has been collected and handed over to the international community by Pakistan. And I would like to say that the United States, Britain, France and several other countries have looked at the evidence and have concluded that what India is saying is correct, that the support for this kind of terrorism is coming from Pakistan. And as a consequence, they have been quite firm in demanding that Pakistan should roll up these terror camps. We have provided a lot of evidence. We keep providing evidence. But each time the Pakistanis say, no, it's not enough. The whole world is convinced, and the fact is you keep saying not enough, and openly you have people who are collecting money on behalf of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Toiba. What are we to think?
Okay, let me give this question to Chingdo here in the studio, who has been listening to all of that. First of all, does the whole world is the whole world convinced that it has been Pakistan who is who is behind all of these attacks that Professor Nalapat has taken? And how do you look at the situation from the Chinese perspective?
Well, obviously, there are terror attacks, both in Indian side and also in Pakistan side. We should remember, like, Pakistan itself is a victim of terror attacks. Remember back a few years ago, there's a military school that was stormed by terrorists. The key issue here is whether the Pakistani government is behind, directly or indirectly, or whether they provide the support to the militant group in launching attack against the Indian side. I think that's not really clear. So that's the differences between the two governments,
All right, we're going to leave it there. Many thanks to Shishingdor, Senior Fellow at the Pango Institution, Professor Madhav Nalapat, Director of Geopolitics and International Relations and UNESCO Chair at Manipal University, New Delhi, and Muhammad Zamir Asadi, Diplomatic Correspondent from Independent News, Pakistan.